Hey guys, we're bringing you some breaking news today in regards to the Bank of England that has officially launched the biggest interest rate hike in 27 years. What does this mean for crypto? What does this mean for the economy at large? That's what we're going to be getting into in this video. You guys will know, check my Twitter, check videos from months ago, that we've been saying this market is probably going to enter a bit of a tough time period. Around about the 44k range, we were looking to get out, starting to exit positions. We still hold and have exposure to the crypto space. Ultimately, and I want to stress this point, you guys have got to realize, is I am exceptionally bullish on the cryptocurrency market, as a new asset class, as a technology that's going to change the world. Right now, though, I feel like we're in for a bit of a tough and turbulent time period, and I don't think it's helpful to call bottoms or to try and, time the bottom of the market perfectly just now, given how much risk is on the table. And the Bank of England doing this takes more liquidity off the table. Europe are doing a similar thing. We're seeing America really do it very aggressively, and people are acting like this has come to an end and that they're going to start pivoting. They are not going to pivot just yet. They can't pivot just yet until something breaks, until they have reason to do so. And this is why I've said that I feel like we're just waiting for that Lehman's moment. They are not going to do a 180 just yet. And this is what we're looking at. And discussing many things with my Patreons. One thing is that we're looking for the next shorts. But what we're going to do in this video is going to look at Bitcoin against the dollar, Bitcoin against the Great British Pound. We're going to look at the US dollar against the euro. Why are we looking at the FX market on a cryptocurrency channel? Well, Bitcoin is tethered to the dollar. What's going on with the dollar right now? It ran parity on the euro. It's natural that it's having a pullback. And how is Bitcoin acting during this period where the dollar is not quite firm? It can't quite get it up. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. It's not doing anything too spectacular. I also want to bring in the NASDAQ. For me, look at where we rejected last time. I'm a big fan of the 30 moving average. So the denomination of the moving average using a 30 sort of input. Look at where we are. You're also at this key neckline. We didn't call this neckline, but we followed it. This was called by somebody called the Market Sniper, Francis Hunt. We've had him on the channel many times. Go and check him out. He's a fantastic macro technician and general market technician, on top of many other things. This was the head and shoulders we're looking at. Very common. You get the break, you get the retest. Are we going to roll here? In my opinion, it's a lot more likely than not. It can go a little bit further, but ultimately, when you understand what's going on, and the Bank of England today coming out and doing this interest rate hike really cements the fact that markets, what moves markets, if you understand what moves markets, you'll understand the whole game of investing and trading. It's liquidity. What's happening with liquidity right now? It's getting taken very aggressively off the table. What I'll do, and I highlighted this point, we did a Bitcoin technical update. We're going to start doing them daily in the morning just to give everybody an idea of what we're looking at for the day ahead, week ahead, and so on. March 2020 onwards saw huge liquidity pushed into markets. We know the story there. We're now at the opposite end of that. And to expect markets to go up in that kind of an environment, I think is somewhat foolish. We were very overextended to the downside here. When bear markets, you don't just go down in a straight line. Okay, you're going to have rallies, you're going to have intervals. And this is what we are currently seeing and experiencing right now. In my opinion, this is a relief rally. Can it go higher? Yes, absolutely. But for me, the eventuality is, unless we see a serious monetary regime change, or we see a reason for the Fed to pivot and go back into accommodating markets, we stick to the narrative and the kind of train that we're on, if you will. We don't see any reason to get off at the next step and look to start reallocating capital into these markets. You also got Pelosi over in Taiwan. Now, I've actually listened to, there was one on, who was it I was listening to? It might have been a Real Vision. There's been a few different sort of inputs that I've had in regards to Taiwan, and Taiwan is significant. We have a sort of supply chain issue at the moment. Any kind of disruption with Taiwan would see further issues to that. I mean, I think Los Angeles actually was rated one of the worst ports in the world right now, which goes to show that we're trying to figure out inflation. There's so much going on with markets. We're just going to try and simplify it. And I want to pull this tweet up from Macro Alf. Well, they remain very low. There has been a broad uptick in loan delinquencies across the board in the last quarter. 2007 repeat or just a blip? Worth monitoring these data from the New York Fed. So the thing is for me, I think this is a lot bigger than many people realize. I think this is somewhat of a debt crisis, if you will. Now, that doesn't give a good outlook for markets. You know, if people start defaulting on debt, that becomes a real issue. We know what caused the 2009-8 financial crisis. And one thing that we've been stressing is, look, Bitcoin has only existed since 2008. What have markets done since then? They've broadly just gone up. Are we entering this recessionary period? I believe so. And I think ultimately, you know, you're just very much repeating this. And I'm going to do a community meeting for my Patreons later on this exact subject. Because, again, risk to reward, just really weigh up, you know, is it worth putting your money in? Okay, maybe you've caught the bottom. For me, it's unlikely. But the probabilities, in my opinion, are very much stacked in favor of further downside. And I think that's becoming more and more obvious the more and more I look into things. And it's something that, you know, on the daily cryptocurrency or daily, Bitcoin update that we did in the morning, we spoke about how this downtrend is very much intact. There's no reason to divert from the course that we are on. And again, last time I'm going to mention the Bank of England doing this kind of an interest rate hike. It's significant. They've not done one since 1995 of this degree. Does that not tell you all of these, you know, first time since the 90s, first time since the 80s, headlines that are flowing around? Does that tell you that this time is a different time to any other time period that Bitcoin has gone through previously? It's acting like a risk-on asset class. What happens to risk-on asset classes in recessions? They don't do too well. And typically markets don't bottom when rate hikes are continuing. Yes, the Fed probably aren't going to do a 75 basis point. Next one, we're probably going to have a lower inflation print, a CPI print. This is not relief. This is just, you know, the issue of liquidity getting drained. It's not a pivot, is what I'm trying to say here. This is continuation, but just to a lesser degree. And markets are trying to kind of price that in at the moment. So going on to Bitcoin and the dollar. When you're looking at Bitcoin, you're looking at one side of the story. The dollar is the other side of the story. What's been happening with the dollar recently? Well, it's done significantly well. Months and months ago, I'll find the tweet and I'll retweet it. We said that the dollar was going to run to 108. Well back, every single pullback that we had here, people have been calling because it fits their narrative. And this is what you got to understand by Twitter. I am a far better trader and investor when I do not go on Twitter. Because everybody's got their own agenda. They've got their own bias that they're going to portray, including myself. I'm not here saying I'm holier than thou. That is not the case. But, you know, we did call this a long time ago. And we still believe that this is very much on the cards moving forwards. Not sure what's going on here, guys. My screen seems to have crashed here. But you can see what I'm trying to show you in regards to the fact that the dollar is selling off. This is allowing Bitcoin to rally. The real question is, does this continue? You know, this is the dollar against the euro. You can see it ran parity, which means a dollar was worth €1. When was the last time this actually happened? The last time this happened was back in essentially the last recession. And you can see the dollar always gets a bid in recessionary periods. This is what we are going through currently. Doesn't mean it can't have a pullback and pull back a little bit more. But ultimately, you know, in my opinion, this will firm up again. If you understand, you know, the dollar's the world reserve currency. When they beat their chest, things fall in line. You've got to understand, and this is the thing with crypto. Right now, there is far more going on than just crypto in its own little bubble. There's far greater forces at work here, so it's natural the dollar's going to receive a pullback. The issue you've got then is what happens to Bitcoin if the dollar does something like this? Forget all the other risk, just looking at the dollar. What happens to Bitcoin? We know how correlated they are. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. The computer does not want to work today, guys. Against the Great British Pound. What I will do is actually just type it in over here. Say, pulling it up. Got so many screens running right now. That is not what I wanted. GBP. Forgive me for this, guys. I'm not really sure what's going on with my computer. Has Bitcoin been stronger against the pound or the dollar? You know, these are all questions that I'm asking myself right now. You know, we were calling, by the way, this run we called very accurately. This is a draw that I just had a long time ago. You know, what's been stronger here? And this is how you know interest rates are so sensitive to everything right now. You know, very, very equal. But you can see the kind of varying degree that one reason we look at the FX market is just because of how tethered to how much the cryptocurrency market is reliant on it. And it's for the simple reason that, look, what goes into markets to drive them? Money, okay, in the forms of dollars, in the forms of pounds. This is why this is so significant, because you're now going to have more pounds needed to pay off debt. It's going to inherently increase the value of the pound, maybe not against the dollar, which is doing it to more of a degree, but certainly in regards to the likes of Bitcoin. Breaking that down very, very simply and simplistically, not wanting to go into too much detail. So again, for me, there's still a lot of risk on. If you didn't watch my daily cryptocurrency market update video, well worth doing, because we looked at a number of things. One thing that we looked at was the POWELL indicator, the pi cycle indicator. You can pull up whatever indicator you want. The problem that you've got right now is there's been indicators that have supported various narratives the whole way down. And the issue, and the main point that I'm going to raise and love and leave you on, is that this is any time an indicator performed a certain or gave a certain signal prior, you can't compare to now, because the conditions are simply different. And we're seeing that across the board. I could show you 1,000,001 things that show that now is a very unprecedented time, just like March 2020 onwards was. And we've got to kind of allow and allocate and plan for more risk than potentially we would like to do so. We can't just go and look at historic metrics when the environment has been completely different and go, okay, well, this is going to happen, or this isn't going to happen because it happened 5 years ago or 4 years ago, or whatever that may be. All I've got for you in this video, guys, if you enjoyed the content, like, as always, appreciate it, so as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Have a fantastic Thursday, guys. Catch you in the next one.